with questions myself first, and then we'll try to move around. First of all, thank you all again for being here this morning / afternoon. We appreciate your time. And I want to start, you mentioned something towards the end of your testimony that I think ties in perfectly with the question I have here, and I'm opening it up to everyone on the witness panel. And that is, Dr. Hart, your testimony calls for depoliticized discussion of how Congress can use evidence to better function as an institution using the knowledge being gained. Certainly that is a very admirable goal, but how do you get around the fact that data can be used to promote sort of partisan aims? And how can we be certain that the data being presented isn't biased, especially when both sides point to data in these policy debates?
So a major component of this is thinking about how we transparently share the information and evidence that we're using. And this is actually one of the pillars of the Evidence Commission, the Ryan Murray Commission, when we talked about evidence-based policymaking. Transparency was one of the 5 pillars. And in the executive branch, this is something that we have encouraged, promoted, as we are talking about sharing more information from the American public. It is one of the reasons that we promote openness of data. And it is not to say that we will never have different views about what data mean and what data analysis means. But the more that we are able to share and have open and honest dialogues about the information that is in front of us, the more we can have a productive discussion about what problems are really there and how to solve them. So this is one of the reasons that the Open Government Data Act is such a powerful piece of legislation that should be something that Congress is interested in providing oversight of, and we should be moving forward with. It is a topic in front of us.
Thank you. Ms. Bean, you mentioned in your testimony the 65 reports that are done annually by CRS that provide I think, incredible amount of information to us, and it's one of the things I think is maybe most overlooked as members and staff, that these reports are done and are out there for our viewing pleasure, but also to gain insight for. My question to you really revolves around, why do support agencies have their data access authorities detailed in statute?
Well, I think there are 2 reasons. First, we're a nation of laws, and so it is very helpful for an agency to have a very clear, strong law that it can point to that enables it to get the information that Congress needs. So I think that's sort of one reason it's important to have that kind of statutory foundation. Another reason is that Congress, needs information for virtually all of the things that it does, whether it's enacting legislation, spending taxpayer dollars, overseeing the executive branch. It needs that information, and so we want to provide that strong foundation for its support agencies to act as those force multipliers to help the staffs that have limited resources and limited time get the information they need.
Excellent. And Dr. Glassman, understanding that you were actually at CRS a while ago, my question to you is maybe a little more technical, and that is, do confidentiality agreements between analysts and their congressional clients prevent analysts from sharing those raw data sets that they may be given by the executive branch?
So you mean confidentiality between an analyst like myself and a congressional requester such as you?
Correct.
So, confidentiality at CRS is airtight between CRS, the agency, and the office of the member or the staff requesting. And so I always thought about it as that was the baseline. I would never tell anyone outside the office I was working for or CRS what was going on. I would certainly talk to other analysts and ask them to help me on something. And unless the requester specifically said, don't talk to anyone else in my office, I would think it would be sort of fair game to talk with someone in their office. In terms of data coming from the executive branch, when I had it, I never used it in terms of handing over raw data sets. In fact, often when I was dealing with the executive branch, that would be the one condition they would want on the data. I would say, well, we'll give it to you, but you're just using this to write a report with analysis, right? And I would say, yes. And then it would do that. And then it would have the data, and I would continue to use it for that purpose. But I would never transfer sort of large-scale data to Congress. And I think I would probably be very wary of doing that without sort of getting my supervisor involved or discussing it further with the agency or the requester. Now, I often wrote things, analysis pieces that were confidential to members, who I then went back later and said, hey, I have another client who might be interested in similar things. This is okay if I share that with them. And so that happened routinely, and I almost never had anyone say no to that. So I would think that that would be how I would handle these sort of data things. But, you know, I think it's understandable if you're taking massive raw data sets from the executive branch agencies that they're going to be concerned about this, and I think I would be too.
And I think for many looking at this issue, they want to make sure that that information may not be shared specifically or directly with, you know, either members or staff, but still the information that's provided there within is given to you all, and then you all can sort of translate that, put it into those papers, and provide us the data that we're asking for. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you for that.